As we begin today's video, I want to ask you a very simple, basic question that's going to get you in the frame of mind for what we're going to talk about, and that is, what does the narcissist do to bother you? You may be thinking, well, where do we begin and how much time do we have? Narcissists, with their very high need for control, don't want you to be you. So they're constantly coming at you with something of a message that says it really isn't okay for you to think or feel or do or behave or prioritize the way you do. And so you're going to be on the receiving end of lots of messages that are not very flattering and not very encouraging. For example, narcissists complain a lot. You're never going to be good enough. Narcissists will invalidate. They can ignore you. They'll scold you. They'll say one thing and then do another. They can speak rudely, and they can be abrupt as they try to talk with you about their understanding of truth. They can go into rages. They may shame you. They can call you names. So when we ask, what does the narcissist do that can bother you? Well, there's a pretty good starting list right there. And when you live with that over and over and over, it wears you out. And it's kind of strange to say this, but one of the biggest problems that you can bring to that situation is you try to bring them into a sense of normalcy. You want to say, hey, look, there's a better way that we can do this. Let's talk about what that might be. And then when you attempt to speak with normalcy toward them and ask them to just show a little bit of decency, they go back and just continue to repeat whatever it is that they do, and you're exasperated. And then here comes the problem. I want you to ask, how commonly do you find yourself offering rebuttals and responses that go into the pleading category? Come on, we don't have to do it this way. What's wrong with you? Why do you have to treat me like that? So I want you to think about your pleading responses toward that narcissist. Do you sometimes rationalize who you are, how you think? Or do you feel like you have to justify the decisions that you made? Do you protest and say, this isn't fair, quit it, I don't like that? Do you use an insistent tone of voice? Listen to your tone of voice. When you have a sense of calmness, you speak pretty much with this tone of voice. But when you go into the insistent mode, your voice raises and you become more coercive. Do you find yourself doing that very often? Do you sometimes go into the suppressing mode as you attempt to please that person? Well, maybe if I'm extra nice, that'll get me off them off my back. Do you try to appeal to reason? Do you try to shame them right back? When they rage, do you rage in reverse? There's all sorts of things that can happen. And you'll notice that when you have this pleading and this style of communication and this effort and this desire that says, I've got to get through to them, it doesn't work. Now, let me ask another question. How often when you go into this back and forth pleading form of communication, does the narcissist give you credit? For example, when was the last time a narcissist said, you're making a really good point? Or that's an excellent perspective. Or you kind of got me on that one. I need to back off, don't I? Or please accept my apology. Does a narcissist ever say that? Or wow, I blew that. Or let me see if I can understand your feelings more carefully. Or I know sometimes I embarrass myself because I do things wrong. How many times does a narcissist say those kind of statements? And most of you, the answer would be something to the effect of, well, counting the next time, that would be one. They don't do that. So as we think about how you go into that pleading mode toward the narcissist, let's begin with a few just core truths about what you're dealing with. First core truth is a narcissist does not do life well. Now, in many respects, they can succeed in the performance direction, and they can actually be quite skilled and intelligent in whatever endeavors they have. But when I'm talking about not doing life well, I'm talking about on that personal dimension. They lack empathy. That's one of the primary defining features of narcissism. They don't really like to go to that human place where they acknowledge that you have needs and legitimate hurts and feelings and preferences and desires and dreams, and so do they. And so they don't want to get into that human dimension. They don't do life well. A second core truth we need to hold on to is narcissists basically think you're stupid. Keep in mind that another defining feature of narcissism is they need to be in the superior position, which, well, that means you're going to be in the not superior position. They don't think you're worth listening to. They don't think you're worth receiving input from. A third core truth is narcissists genuinely believe they are enlightened. They have a sense of grandiosity. It's like, well, I know that you have your perspectives, but you're not me. And so they have this elevated opinion of themselves, and in doing so, it's like, I don't need any kind of input from you. And then a fourth core truth is they have a sense of unawareness that's pervasive in the way that they engage with folks. Because honestly, when you attempt to talk reason and logic to them, you remember the Peanuts cartoons where the adults in the background were just heard to say, wah, wah, wah. That's what they hear when they hear you speaking. Their lack of awareness is pervasive. They just don't have good insight regarding that personal dimension. You need to get those kinds of truths emblazoned in your mind. Now, I want you to remember, when you attempt to control the controller, you're going to lose. And what that implies is neither you nor the narcissist is operating with an internally driven philosophy of life. The controlling narcissist is all about just keeping everything right on the outside, and you don't want to make that mistake. You want to learn how to go to the inside and appeal to your own basic beliefs and core values and all, and then you want to live into that regardless of what the exterior is given to you. And you also want to have your sense of truth, your sense of principles and standards. And again, it's not going to be something that the narcissist is going to have, but you need to know who you are and what you believe and how you know life needs to be lived. And let's keep in mind, as you go into that more interior direction, you're going to find yourself being quite other from the narcissist, but don't expect the narcissist to join you. Now, you've probably heard the old saying, don't give your pearls to swine. Have you heard of that one? You know, it's kind of like you got a pig over there in the pig pen and you say, here, there's a nice pearl necklace I'd like for you to have. They don't know what to do with it. Well, in the same way, when you try to give them your pearls of wisdom, and typically you do it in that pleading and coercive kind of way, they don't know what to do with your pearls of wisdom. They don't care. And so here you have something that you consider to be valuable and helpful, you know, the philosophy of life that you live with, and you're trying to hand it over to somebody who has no appreciation for it at all. So let's see if we can take a look at how you can adjust your pleading style with the narcissist so that you're at least not going to go into that pig pen with them. First, save your psychic energy as you engage with the unaware person. I know you want to jump inside that person's mind and spirit and say, you know, here's something that we can do better. Save it. You're not going to be able to change that person. Narcissists don't want input. In fact, another defining feature is the inability to receive input well. A second adjustment that I'd encourage you to make, and that is, if you do need to explain yourself, let's suppose you're in a problem-solving situation or there's a decision you've made and the narcissist is trying to push against it, it may be legitimate to explain yourself once. But then once you've explained yourself that one time, be done. Because as you talk about what you think and feel and believe, the narcissist is listening for holes in your logic, and they're going to predictably come back at you with all sorts of coercive kind of communication. Don't take the hook. Don't let that get in there. Just say what you need to say once and then be finished. Which then leads to a third primary adjustment, and that is drop any illusion that you can and should control that narcissist. When you go into the pleading, the persuasive, the insistent mode toward the narcissist, you've gone into a control mode back toward them. Control's an illusion. You cannot control another person. What you can do is you can speak your truth. You can say what needs to be said, and then the other person has the free will to say yes or no to whatever it is you say. And then a fourth adjustment, and that is focus instead on finding your own place of inner calm and inner peace. Your peace doesn't have to necessarily be totally contingent upon the narcissist giving you their seal of approval. It's not going to happen. And so rather than playing smash mouth with the narcissist, you say something to me, I'll say it right back at you. You want to have the notion that says, I'm okay with myself. I'm comfortable with how I think and how I do life. I know you don't do life well, but I'm going to concentrate on what I can do within me. So keep your pearls of wisdom. Don't necessarily throw it at them, and anchor down on you being a healthy person. And even though the relationship itself may not go to a very good place, at least you won't go into your own place of dysfunction. And sometimes with a narcissist, we're just going to call that a victory. They won't, but you can think differently. Give yourself that permission. I do hope that you find videos such as this to be helpful. Beneath the video here, you're going to see the subscribe button. And if you have not already done so, I would encourage you to hit it, and we'll keep you apprised of the various videos that we have up. We also have links to some of my books and some online workshops. And then we also have a link there if you're looking for some online counseling. I know some of you live in places where the counselors aren't very available, but if you need that, we have a link there for you so that you can get the help that you need and deserve. Just know that I'm very pleased to be with you on your journey. It really is an honor for me when I get the good feedback from you about how this provokes you to good thought and adjustment. So just know I take that seriously. Having said all that, I'll see you next time.